At long last, there was movement in Nelson Mandela Bay, which could finally see those accused of plundering Nelson Mandela Bay's funding meant for the beleaguered bus system being brought to book. It has been about 6 or 7 years in the making, and finally there were about 9 people arrested in the Bay, accused of having misappropriated, accused of corruption, and accused of money laundering, the money that was meant to benefit the residents of the city. From the charge sheet, the state plans to prove how those who are accused operated a syndicate by bypassing municipal laws with the ultimate goal of benefiting themselves. For those who have followed reports in the Herald over the years, you would know that these things have sort of spanned from 2009 up until 2015. There are 2 forensic reports on this matter, one of them penned by Advocate Vusibikoli, and the other, which is more extensive, was initiated by the National Treasury. These reports have over the years detailed how corruption and money laundering took place, starting from municipal officials to companies, even a law firm, and ultimately with the political figures at the helm pulling the strings.
The investigation, how long has it been ongoing?
Well, the matter was reported to the Hawks in September 2018, but the irregularities, however, were reported in and around 20, if my memory serves me well, quite earlier on. The projects were actually done by the municipality in 2010, both projects, and of course those companies were irregularly appointed by the municipality, and of course the money paid to them was ballooned. But then the matter was then reported much later, and of course Treasury then appointed a service provider that would give the audit report on those. That went until 2017. In 2018, the Hawks investigation ensued.
It's a very good development. It's something that has been in the making for a while now, as you know. And everyone in PE, in the metro as a whole, knew about this scandal. It made massive headlines years ago, but it's always been a wonder why there were never any prosecutions. And the reason why it is only happening now, it's not coincidental. It is a sign of, changes that have recently happened. Remember, the Municipal Financial Management Act, which was promulgated in 2004, does empower Treasury to retrieve money, wasted, fruitless expenditure, or irregular expenditure. Treasury is empowered to retrieve that money or recover that money from other politicians or managers. But you have other people from the province, as you were saying earlier, senior advisor to the premier. And you see, this has always been the intriguing part of this thing, that monies that are stolen in municipalities by, say, Qupe or whoever, are not only taken by those guys for their own use exclusively. These are monies that get spread to other individuals as well. So there is a web of beneficiaries, right? To a point where when other politicians in the municipality raise objections and insist on prosecution, or that these corrupt individuals should be removed from the municipality, they always get protection from the province. The reason why they hounded Waile, right, out of the municipality, because Waile was an honest man when he was mayor. He wanted to investigate corruption. He wanted to prosecute. Waile was a stumbling block to them siphoning government money. So they chucked out Waile and brought in a figurehead like Ben Fihla. Ben Fihla had no clue what was happening. And I'm surprised that he's not one of those who are there, because he must have signed documents. He agreed to certain things being done. He brought in Chamas, Advocate Chamas, I think it is, right? All these things happen under the watch of Ben Fischer. What is his accountability in all this? I'm not surprised then that you have folks coming from the province, because the monies that were stolen in PE made their way elsewhere into the other parts of the country, especially in the provincial leadership. That is why that provincial leadership was always so protective of Qupe's REC, Qupe, Faku, the whole lot of them, right? That PEC protected that REC, and that is the REC that facilitated this thievery. And most probably the PEC got their share of that money. And we need to ask, who else got the money?
Do you foresee the Premier? Do you foresee the Premier taking any sort of action where Qupe is concerned, possibly asking him to step aside until investigations are done, as is the resolution of the ANC in relation to such matters?
Well, I don't know, Nomazim. I don't want to guess. You know, with the ANC these days, they take one decision today and act differently tomorrow. It would make sense, especially because he's been telling us that he's innocent of all this corruption that he's been accused of. And so for someone who wants to prove that he's innocent of corruption and he dislikes corruption, it would make sense for him to act against Qupe. You know, but he had Qupe in his office, even though Qupe was accused of IPTS money. I mean, there are stories of Qupe getting R1 million from Fakir and going back to Fakir saying that the R1 million got lost. Can you please give me another R1 million? So all these stories have always been there. Mabuyane knew about these stories and he hired Qupe in his office anyway. And so, you know, I wouldn't bet on it, but for someone who wants to portray a clean image, it would make sense for him to suspend Qupe.
Will there be justice? Well, that's ultimately going to be decided by the courts. But for Nelson Mandela Bay residents, we can finally breathe a sigh of relief that finally there is some action being taken.